1.3 has been officially named. It is being called Wolfe, 2.3 Wolfe, after Gene Wolfe, a author that sadly passed away on April 14th of 2019, better known for his Solar Cycle series, where a character explores a world in the distant future that is Earth, where he unveils ancient relics, which is obviously relevant to this particular expansion. Regardless of 2.3, there is some more stuff that we need to talk about, and that is the following. In the past, Stellaris was a 32-bit game. That means that we could only use 4 gigs of RAM on your machine to properly process the game itself. This has to do with overflowing and data, etc. They are happy to announce that Stellaris is going to go to 64 bits. Now, what does that mean? It means improved performance, but not the magical perfect performance that everybody's been clamoring for or that everybody expected of a 64-bit update. But yeah, expect if you're playing on larger maps or if you're playing with a lot of ships and there's a lot of stuff going on, that performance will definitely increase. On the negative side, it does mean that a certain chunk of you that is using a 32-bit operating system will sadly be left behind in 2.2. which will no longer be available to you. So if you try to figure out whether or not your system is running on 64 bits, by now that should be the case. If not, well, then I'm afraid to tell you that the updates end here. This should only apply to about 1% of the user base, which by itself, I'm pretty sure Stellaris sold more than 1 million copies. You can do the math there. 1,000 people losing access to the game. That's yeah, that's kind of sad. Actually, no, it's more like 10,000. Come to think of it. Regardless, 32-bit computers or OSs will no longer be supported by Stellaris, which is a bit of a shame. Now, where does all this performance improvement come from? Well, most of the performance right now is being tied up in jobs and pops. One of the big things that came out of 2.2 Lagwin, and basically quite a lot of calculations and modifiers are being applied at all times when it comes to tracking pops, and quite a lot of performance is being funneled into that and multi-threading and that sort of thing. But yes, Stellaris does use multi-threading, even though a lot of people claim that this is not the case, that the game was only running off of one thread, one core, which is not the case. But yeah, in the future, more threads, more cores will be utilized by the system, which is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to see improved performance, especially in the late game. Personally, I don't have that many problems myself. My system is relatively high-end, even though it's about 4 years old. But yeah, overall, I think the performance improvement should be quite good. There's been quite a lot of cutting being done in the back end, completely being overhauled. It's not going to affect any mods, as modifiers will still be applied in the classic way, so all mods will not be affected. It's all back end stuff, and this is things like ships calculating regeneration when they're at full health, or whether or not there's off-screen icons that need to be updated, or uninhabitable planets, which is about 80% of worlds need to do the same evaluations as populated ones, which is it's a little bit awkward. Those barren worlds out there, of which there are literally thousands, we're doing the same calculations as standard habitable worlds. So consider quite a lot of improvement there. Quite a lot of new code is being written in the back end, and really looking forward to see how this is going to go. Now, the developers, or specifically Moa, who is the technical lead on Stellaris, posted this very interesting diagram just to illustrate how many modifiers there are in Stellaris, and there is quite a lot of them. The game literally runs on modifiers, which is kind of similar to how Crusader Kings deals with things, although that is all being ran on traits and numbers and stuff like that, whereas in this particular case, it's very much percentage-based, and all rounding is down for some reason. But yeah, modifiers exist for ethics, traditions, perks, events, buildings, jobs, countries, etc., etc. There is tons of them, and they all need to be applied, and keeping track of all those things take up quite a lot of processing power, which is going to be improving in the future, so that is very, very exciting. But yeah, 2.3 Wolfe, they're going to be using a different system, which involves nodes, improvements on performance, and reducing pointless recalculations, which apparently there were quite a lot of. So what can you expect in terms of performance? Somewhere around 10 to 30%. as of right now in the internal builds, apparently. Whether or not this is going to stay like this is a whole different question. The final builds obviously are a little bit different, and slowly over time more stuff will get added and performance will slow down again until they get to the next dev update, at least on the technical side. So we'll see how that goes. But still, yeah, apparently about 75% of POPs, or at least the of performance is being used up by the POP system. So that gives you a good indication of why this is a problem, and especially the larger maps. And if you have thousands upon thousands of POPs being put on your planet just to turn them into energy and that sort of thing. And devs are kind of playing around with the idea of like, hey, what about we do something similar as Crusader Kings 2 and introduce a update like Reapers do, where the plague arrives and kills a ton of POPs, which by itself would be rather cool. I'm really looking forward to see the Jovarian pox or something along those lines popping up and starting to purge out population. There is already an event chain in the game that just kills POPs anyway, which is, you know, I haven't seen it in 2.2. It's been a while, but still, I would like to see some stuff that would completely run out of control and kill off a ton of POPs, and all of a sudden performance is great. So yeah. Then there is this little diagram here. This is a Speed 4 game that had been run internally. I cannot make any sense of it, but apparently it has to do mostly with performance, especially things like let's take a look here. Wars take up quite a lot of performance, as well as fleet calculations and stuff like that. And especially as soon as you hit around 2350, performance really reduces, and then it kind of peaks around 2500, and then from there on it kind of stays stable because of a lot of dying happening in space and stuff like that. So yeah. AI is also going to be updated again. Glavius, who has been working on the Glavius AI mod, which some of you have may be using. Some of you may have been using also the Skynet AI update, which has been floating around on the workshop. We'll see whether or not we're going to see more optimization from there. But yeah, it looks like the developers have really tapped into the modding community in order to get their performance up on AI, which is actually really good. I really like it when developers try to get help from the outside of their dev teams and say, hey, could you help us with this to balance things out a little bit more, or make the numbers work a little bit better? And obviously then it becomes a freelancer type situation. Then there's a new crash reporter. If you crash out of a game, you won't get a crash report request until you start up a new game. Instead, you will get one as soon as you crash, which I guess makes sense. So that's nice. Connectivity issues, etc. But yeah, not a lot more to say, really. 149, technical improvements. The dev diary is below in the comments if you want to read more about the technical side. Just to recap, you got 32-bit OSs or PCs. I'm afraid this is where the road ends. Performance improvements to be expected from 10 to 30%, as quite a lot of modifiers have been redone and recalculated and reset with a lot of back-end stuff going on. Will it impact your mods? No, it won't. And that's pretty much the gist of it. The tech debt is being removed, everybody. We are moving into the 64-bit era. Get ready to use all your RAM. I'm really looking forward to use my 32 gig megs worth, or gigs worth. How much RAM? We're on gigs these days, right? Yeah, okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll wrap it up here, and yeah, dev diary below. Until next time, take good care of yourselves, and as always, each other.